Hi there. Happy New Year. This is Carrie Scroggins from KDS Insurance Services. How are you guys doing this brand new year? It has started off with a bang for me, and I am absolutely confident that this year is going to be a fantastic year for all of us. We all deserve it. It's been a really hairy 2 years for everyone. And I feel like the tide's turning, and so let's stay really positive and let's make sure that we all look like and believe that we've got a half full glass, not a half empty glass, because I believe in that 100%. So I've had a lot of people ask me in the last month, probably 9 or 10 people have contacted me and asked me about, well, how do you become an agent? And I think we've touched on this a little bit before, but wanted to talk a little bit about it again today and post this out onto the airways for you if you're interested. You know, insurance is a great industry because everybody has to have it. And it really is a life-changing industry. It can make a huge difference in everybody's life, especially if there is a death in the family. Obviously, we're talking about life insurance, but a lot of other things too that most people don't understand about insurance. It's really your first line of defense when it comes to defending your assets. And insurance is very important, and you need to work with somebody that is licensed. So how do you become a licensed insurance agent? Well, the first thing you have to do is decide what kind of agent you want to be. Do you want to be a captive agent, which means that you represent only one company like State Farm, Allstate, Farmers, American General? They're just one carrier, and the carrier only offers the products that they make available through their conglomerate. Most of those carriers are what we call P&C carriers. They're property and casualty and life insurance and health insurance, and so but not all of those captive carriers make all of that available to you. So you really need to decide, do you want to be a captive agent and only be able to sell one company's product? Or do you want to be an independent agent and have multiple carriers that you work with? I chose to be I chose to be a captive agent first. I went to work for Allstate, and I very quickly realized that after the first year and I started getting my clients renewals in, that I was not happy with the renewals that I was seeing. And these are renewals for people that don't have any accidents, pay their bills on time, haven't done anything to cause the insurance company to pay out any money for them. And they're still getting rate increases. And I found that to be unacceptable. And then for a lot of other reasons too. When you are a captive agent and you only represent one company, that one company has a lot of hold on you, if you will. They expect a lot. There's a lot of production numbers that are required. And you have to sign a contract with them. And not all of the time do those contracts stay stagnant. They have a very bad habit of changing the contracts after you've signed them, and you're kind of then held hostage because you're already an agent and you're only representing them and no other carrier. So I learned pretty quickly about a year and a half, and I really made the decision that I was going to have to rethink my decision and figure out a way to become an independent agent. So an independent agent's a little harder to do, guys, when you're starting a scratch agency and you're not buying a book of business. Now, you can buy a book of business from a captive agent. You can buy an agency that's already there and the owner has decided they're retiring or they just went out of the business. So you can buy a captive insurance book of business that's already a functional business. You can also start from scratch. So you don't have, the day you open, you have not one policy, and then you just start to work and get referrals and start to grow your book of business that way. But I decided, and I knew, like I said, very quickly that I was going to have to make a decision and change my original plan. So I did, and I left Allstate and I became an independent agent. Now, when you become an independent agent these days, it's very difficult to go to a company like Safeco or Travelers or Nationwide or Progressive or any of these really big carriers that we hear about, and just ask them to appoint you. Because if you don't bring anything to the table where you're both got skin in the game, it can be very hard to get appointments with these type of carriers because you're not bringing anything to the game. You don't have policies already in place unless you buy an agency that's already established and you're buying that book of business. But when you buy that book of business, not all the time will that carrier give that new agent the same contract. So it's one of those things that you really need to do your homework on. I made the decision when I decided to become an independent agent to join what's called a cluster. And what that means is that there's agents all over the United States, and they pool all of their sales and their premiums into one place, and then that cluster or that company then goes to all of these carriers and says, okay, we want to appoint this new agent in Texas and Louisiana and New York and Washington and California, because they're working off an already established pool of business with agents that are already open and submitting production to these carriers. And when you do that and you become part of a cluster, then you're actually letting that entity, and in this case, the cluster that I joined is called Premier Group Insurance, and they're based out of Denver. I did a lot of research when I first started, and I made this decision, and they are by far the most competitive contract and offer you the best services by far. And I personally interviewed 6 different companies, and what impressed me the most was the senior management at PGI. And so I decided to then join PGI. I became an agent. The business is mine, though. I want to make that very clear. Just because you're going through an entity to get all of your appointments doesn't mean it's not your book of business, because it is. But there's also a contract. Now, a lot of these clusters do charge an upfront fee, and that's standard because, they're doing all the work on the front end, and then you're coming along, signing that contract, and then you start to write business, but you're not bringing anything to the plate when you first start. So it's all a front load expense for them. So it's totally right for them to charge you some sort of contractual fee, membership fee, whatever they decide that they're going to call it. And then what happens generally is you go and you get all of these appointments with all these carriers, and then the cluster takes a certain percentage of your monthly income because they're doing everything on the front end. Remember, they're doing all the collecting of reports, they're getting all of the documentation and all the downloads and all of that. So you have to be willing to pay a cluster an upfront fee as well as a monthly fee. But in my opinion, it is really the only way to start in today's insurance industry as an independent agent, unless you buy a current book of business. And then if you buy that current book of business, you're going to have to go and negotiate with the carriers that are in that book of business. And just remember, there's no guarantee that they're going to continue that contract. And then you just go along, you start working on, your referrals, you start writing business, and then as you grow and you start getting busier and busier, then you need to think about employees. And another thing, most of the captive carriers, when you sign a contract with them, State Farm, Farmers, Allstate, they actually require that you have employees the day you open. 90% of those carriers do. So obviously you're going to have a lot more money on the front side if you go with a captive carrier than you would if you were to go as an independent agent. So that's kind of the first step, guys, in becoming an insurance agent. Deciding what kind of agent you want to be, deciding what products that you want to offer, and then of course making sure that you have the appropriate license and tax information in order to set up your company. That's really important, that you make sure that you have the correct license. P&C is property and casualty. That's property and auto generally, or a personal umbrella. Then there's life and health. That is obviously life insurance and health insurance. I am licensed in all of those, so I can sell just about every product. The only thing I don't sell is products that have a financial tie to the stock market. That's just way too complicated, and prefer not to venture down into that road. You really need to have some pretty good expertise when it comes to dealing with people's money, stocks, and that sort of thing. And I would just prefer to have somebody else that's really trained on handling those things. So guys, that's kind of the first step. I hope this has helped you. If you've got any questions, please send me a message. You can go obviously to my YouTube page, which is Carrie Devlin Scroggins. You can also visit my webpage, which is www.kds-insurance-services.com. You can also reach out to me. I'm all over social media. You can also reach me at the office, 832-391-8271. And if it's something that you're interested in and you'd like a referral to Premier Group Insurance, I'm happy to help you with that too. You can actually talk to somebody within the organization that can give you the up-to-date information, because it's been quite a while since I joined PGI. And like everything else, I'm sure there's been some changes to becoming a new agent. But they are by far the best insurance cluster that I'm aware of. I don't even really think there's anybody close to second place. And that's just not being biased. That's just being brutally honest with you. You're going to invest a lot of money and a lot of hard work here. So you need to make sure that you get with a really first-class organization. So I'm going to continue this series into the next few weeks. We'll talk about some specific subjects as we go. And of course, by all means, if you want to reach out, please do. I'm here to help you in any way possible. These videos are for your educational purposes, and I'd love to hear from you. If there's a subject that you want to talk about, let me know that too. So get out and make it a great weekend. I hope wherever you are, you get out and enjoy the beautiful sunshine, be with your loved ones, and have a fantastic weekend, and I will catch up with you next week. God bless.